Hello, fellow Americans. You are on the YouTube channel Common Constitutionalism, and I am Mitch. I talk about issues in our government, the erosion of our culture, the minimizing of our way of life, and the disregard for our Constitution. Keep your conservative voices active. Subscribe to this channel and listen as I talk about issues we are facing in our country and government. Visit my website, commonconstitutionalism.com. Enjoy reading my conservative blogs, and if you like them, maybe throw in a donation. While on commonconstitutionalism.com, go ahead and shop at the Sage Novelty Shop, where you will find shirts which feature our very own unique conservative political memes and captions. Display your conservative beliefs with pride. These items send a clear message without saying a word, or if you prefer, you can use them as a conversation starter. Come join my Facebook group, Common Constitutionalism, for discussions of topics, sharing of ideas, and interacting with others just like yourself who are proud to be Americans. This one's for all of Congress. And I'm going to make it a two-parter because there's information in here. I don't want to condense it, so be sure you see both parts. For all of Congress, this one's for you. I truly hope that someone in Congress has the guts and decency to pass this around and have all of Congress in Washington, D.C. read this. I know it is always about politics. This is exactly why the American people have stopped believing in and trusting our elected officials. Special interest and pork belly spending has become Washington, D.C.'s trademark. I will tell you what we, the people, need to get accomplished, and that would be to get America's government back in our hands and working for the people. Not for Congress to collect their guaranteed lifelong pensions. By the way, where are the taxpayers' guaranteed pensions? That is right. We, the people, elected you. It is our money, and you are playing with it like there is no end to the money. There is something I do not understand about Congress getting their guaranteed pensions. Congress is having discussions on whether or not we should bail out state governments because of the pandemic. The big argument is, what about the states who have been irresponsible in the ways they have budgeted and have accrued large deficits? Like the states who have given their state employees these ridiculous pension plans. They have not been able to maintain the funding for them. Should these states be bailed out? I say hell no. States with balanced budgets should not be forced to pay for those irresponsible states. As far as their ridiculous pension plans go, well, if those states cannot fund their pensions, then they should lose them. There's only one way they're going to learn. Which brings me to my point about Congress getting their guaranteed pensions. If we do not give bailout money to the states for their ridiculous pension plans, as we well shouldn't, then why would we allow federal employees in Congress to have their ridiculous pension plans? The federal government does not work from a balanced budget. The spending by our federal Congress has the United States near $30 trillion in debt. By the same token, shouldn't federal pensions go bankrupt as well? Congress, we just want you to go home to your constituents. Get the hell out of Washington, D.C. The more you're there, the more of our money you spend, the more phony special investigations you waste our time with, and the more you screw around with unnecessary things we don't even want. The more you're there, the more our liberties you take away. The more you step on or change our Constitution. And the more you come across as an elitist political propaganda machine, leave it alone. You're the biggest part of the problem. What is it going to take? How can we get rid of the same old politics? I will tell you. Get out of Washington, D.C. and go home. Go out on the streets, knock on the doors, and talk to the people you are supposed to be representing. The way Congress handled the COVID-19 pandemic is reprehensible. First off, when President Trump was giving the State of the Union address and speaking about the virus in China, Nancy Pelosi was busy tearing up the speech with a look on her face like she hates the world. I do not think any congressperson in the room heard President Trump's warning of the coronavirus. I do not think any congressperson even cared. Yet all we hear is President Trump wasted time and was too late. Secondly, when President Trump was busy setting up the coronavirus task force and putting travel restrictions on China, our Congress was completely wrapped up in the phony, politically driven impeachment trial of President Trump. For 4.5 months, September 24th, 2019 to February 5th, 2020, Congress spent every day, 24 hours a day, focused on impeachment. As Trump was trying to do something about the virus, our Congress was too busy with impeachment to worry about something as unimportant as a pandemic. Thirdly, when President Trump and the coronavirus task force was trying to enforce the CDC guidelines of social distancing, protecting the vulnerable, adding countries to the travel restriction list, and acquiring medical equipment, our congressmen and women were speaking out about Trump trying to use the virus for political gain, saying that Trump's actions were xenophobic, racist, and fear-mongering. They were making statements like, the virus was nothing to worry about, and telling the public to go on about their daily routines. Our congressmen and women were telling the public to go out to restaurants, go out to Chinatown to support business, and go to the Lunar New Year parades to support the Chinese population. These types of statements were being made as late as mid-March. And yet Trump was too slow reacting to the pandemic. Lastly, as the American people were ordered to shelter in place, out of work, forced to become unemployed, losing their businesses, and without income to pay bills and feed their families, what was our Congress doing? Nancy Pelosi has closed down the House of Representatives and left Washington, D.C. for weeks. Now she's saying it's going to be mid-July. She was at her home putting out negative rants about Trump doing nothing about COVID-19. That he was killing people and acting racist. While she's being videoed inside her mansion in front of her refrigerator, showing off her stockpile of gourmet chocolate candy and gourmet ice cream. When we needed legislation, Pelosi and the House were home holding up the funding of the much needed economic income disaster loan. To make matters even worse, of the $2.4 trillion of legislation Congress has passed for stimulus and economic assistance for this pandemic, billions of dollars have been added for politically motivated special interest programs. What is wrong with you people in Washington, D.C.? Before Congress is done adding legislation for stimulus money, you will no doubt surpass $6 trillion. Plus, the United States will probably lose $10 trillion in GDP this year. Then we have the budget for 2021. Do any of you realize our national debt will probably hit $30 trillion? Or do you even care? Now, Pelosi is pushing another $3 trillion stimulus package. Everything in Washington, D.C. is clouded with fake and phony politics. Congress has already spent $3 trillion in stimulus programs for COVID-19. And very little of it has found its way to those who really need it. As usual, these programs end up being scooped up by big companies, leaving nothing for the people in real need. Pelosi's latest $3 trillion package, as is normal, is packed with special interest and pork belly spending. A large portion of this bill is targeted to large companies and Democrat-run blue states to bail out liberal spending practices. The bill includes rent and mortgage assistance, funds, mail-in voting for the nation, and election assistance. $25 billion for the U.S. Postal Service. And it even gives money to illegal immigrants. We haven't even straightened out the mistakes and plugged the holes in the program's dispersing of the first $3 trillion of stimulus. It is always the same political mentality. Stick it to the taxpayer. We'll pay for it, and Congress will just keep spending it. There is only one way we will ever get our America back, and that is to quit voting for these irresponsible elitist politicians. They have the game down too well and lose sight of why they are there and who voted them into their service. They actually believe we owe them and it is their money. No, it is not. The money belongs to the taxpayers. We voted for you to represent us by prudently and judiciously overseeing our interests. I could write for days on the ways that Congress has squandered our tax dollars. From everyday entitlement programs, illegal aliens receiving entitlements, Obamacare and special interest pork belly programs. That's the end of part one. Now go to For All of Congress, This One's for You, part two.